Raikan Topaini is for Thai drama lovers only.
Hello, Sawadee-kha, and welcome to Axelle's Guide to Thai Dramas. My name is Axelle, and the Thai drama we're going to talk about today is ThamePo, A Heart That Skips a Beat. Okay, so two things. First, I am giving Lucius Malfoy today for the video viewers. And the second part is that my couch is broken. It doesn't look like it. I'm still in front of it. But basically, I'm sat like on a stool in front of my couch. Because if I sit on it, it's gonna break. So ignore the weird angle and the fact that I'm a little bit too close to the camera. I literally don't have a choice. Unfortunately, it has to be like this. So anyways, to go into ThamePo, as always, I start with my first impression. So my first impression actually starts before ThamePo, before the show was even announced, the trailer was even dropped. I have been a Lycan fan for quite a long time. I actually watched Project Alpha when it was, I believe it finished airing, and I watched it a week later. Binged it all in like a day or two. I believe I was sick when I was watching it as well. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually really love that show. And I already had some of my faves in Project Alpha. I had 3 of them. The first one is Lego, who obviously made it onto the final and is part of Lycan, who I believed it then, and I even believe it now even more, was definitely the most realized of all the participants into that show, even though he was, I believe, the youngest. I believe he was 15 or 16 when he participated into Project Alpha. And I think he was clearly someone who has always worked really hard for his dream. He's obviously an excellent dancer. And I was rooting for him of his work and also his sassiness. I really like the way he acts. My second favorite was Nat, who also made it onto Lycan. Nat, I liked him, I think, for 2 reasons. The first reason is his personality is definitely in line with the types of personality that I like. I mean, my favorite character is Off Jumpun, and I feel like Nat has something in particular, a little bit like Off, which is that he's a little bit sassy, mischievous, a little bit like we say in Thai, kilin, like he likes to play around. And Nat on the show, in my opinion, had the best storyline because he was in the top 4 or 5. So he was in the top alpha for most of the show. But he was knocked down of it due to his overconfidence. And then in the last episode, he manages to still make it into the final band, which I really like the storyline that he changed and he became a little bit more humble and worked on his craft. I think it's a good storyline in general, and I really like his attitude, and you're gonna see that in ThamePo. I also really like him. We're gonna talk about it. The third one was actually someone who didn't end up in Lycan. It was Fluk Natanon, who was still signed by GMMTV afterward. Fluk Natanon, who I really liked because, in my opinion, he is very, very similar to the leader of Lycan, William, who we're going to talk about, because they both have very similar voices that can go very high, that sing extremely well. But I believe that production had already put their sight on William and didn't want to have someone that is in skills so similar to him. So that's why he didn't end up in Lycan, even though he was in the top alpha also for most of the show. And then there's also other members like Hong, William, and Tui. William I quite like. Hong and Tui I know a little bit less about, but I definitely am a Lycan fan. Literally, after I finished watching Project Alpha, I waited for their debut single, May I, which I found to be really amazing. I love this song. I think the music video is awesome. It's in a museum. If you don't know, my field of studies is in museums. So obviously, I'm going to be happy about that. Their second single, was also really, really good. In my opinion, these were their 2 strongest songs. Maybe I'm a little bit of a grandma, a boomer who is attached to the past. But personally, that's my 2 favorite songs from them. After that, they kind of had some hits and some misses, but these 2 songs were so good to me. And yes, so since then, Lycan has been definitely putting out a lot of songs. I've also seen them in 2 concerts, which I've seen them in Gotcha Pop 1, where they were with a bunch of other T-pop bands, and then I saw them, of course, at the Baby 24/7 concert, where I was very close to the stage, so I could see them very, very closely. I took a lot of videos of them, and they are really, I really love their group dynamic, and I'm gonna see them a 3rd time at Gotcha Pop 3. Yes, I skipped Gotcha Pop 2 for some reason. And so, yeah, I'm not like a huge fan, but I am a casual fan, and I am rooting for these boys always since the beginning. So this is kind of the behind the scenes of my attachment to this show, which is that I was always going to watch a show that contained Lycan, because I am rooting for them, and also I wanted to see what kind of music they would release for the show, because I like their music. Now for Est, I was familiar with him from Love by Chance, and Love by Chance 2 specifically, where he plays the love interest of Teen's brother, played by Min, I don't know his last name, sorry. And yes, so that's when I discovered him. I believe he was extremely young in that role, maybe like 18 or something, because right now I believe he's like 22, 23. He's very young. I thought he was older actually, but anyways. And so I've always wanted to see more of him. I saw that he was added to GMMTV. I saw also him on GMMTV Lifehouse, because the MC was who? Of Jumpone, my favorite actor, so I had to watch it. I mostly watch it for Off, I'm not gonna lie, but I liked his interactions with Off, so I wanted to root for Est as well. So then the trailer gets dropped, and again, I was excited. There had been a lot of rumors that William and Est will be paired together. And as of now, every time I hear a rumor of a pairing being put together, I believe it. Now, honestly, Joss Gawin were rumored and it happened. Mark Paquin and Omti Pakorn were rumored and it happened. I feel like anytime there is rumors around a pairing, it always happens, as far as I'm concerned. So now I have learned to always believe them. And then I, of course, watched the mock trailer to ThamePo at the GMMTV lineup. And I quite liked this trailer. I think it's an interesting... I kind of love all shows that kind of give a behind the scenes to the entertainment industry in general. So I was quite excited for that. But I also really liked the... ambience, the atmosphere, if you will, of that mock trailer, which has carried into the actual show, where it's a little bit like, I don't know, there's some K-dramas vibes to it, in the sense that it's a little bit of a cold atmosphere. I don't know how to describe. If you guys understand what I mean to say, please leave a comment, because I never know how to put it into words. But you know, certain shows are more like fuzzy or fast-paced. This show, from the mock trailer, I could already tell that it would be not necessarily like slow-paced, but definitely, yes, not contain a lot of scenes per episode, and would be a little bit more contemplative, a little bit more. This is how I felt from the mock trailer. So this is my first impression of the show. I was waiting for the show to come out, and I watched it mostly live. Unfortunately, these days, I don't know what has taken over me. I always kind of pause a show halfway through. So I did it for Pluto. I thought it's because I didn't like Pluto. Go watch that episode. But I also did it for ThamePo and Us, and spoiler alert, I loved both shows. So I think it's a problem with me. I don't know why. I will watch like each episode until halfway through, like every week as they air, and then I will drop it, get overwhelmed, because then I have 3, 4, 5 episodes that are late that I need to catch up upon, and that's a little bit overwhelming for me. And then I just wait until the show is over and I binge watch the second half of the show. I don't know why I've been doing that in the past few months. So the thing with ThamePo is the synopsis is quite simple. We follow Po. Po is kind of at a crossroad in his life. So he was with his ex-boyfriend. He helped him create his own production, like entertainment company kind of, and he even designed their logo. So we can already see that Po is a creative, and at this moment he's without a job. His boyfriend and him broke up. He's kind of in a loser period, a loser era of his life, if you will. And Po has this friend called Byfern. So Po, of course, is played by Est. And his friend Byfern is played by Sizey, my queen, even though I feel like she's very, very underdeveloped in this show. But honestly, in a way that I didn't mind. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. And so Sizey or Byfern offers him or ask him, Byfern is a huge fan of this T-pop band called Mars, played by, of course, the Lycon members, and she has already hired Po prior to that to do some fun stuff, to follow the members around, take pictures, because she is the leader of the fan page for Mars. And so after that, she gets him an opportunity to work at Warner, the company. Side rants, I really found it so fun because Warner literally is such a good name for a Thai entertainment company, and literally sounds so similar to Riser Music, which is the label founded by GMMTV, which Lycan are signed to. So that's why I found it really fun. But anyways, so Po gets a job there, and his job is to do a documentary around Mars' final concert, because the leader Thame, played by William, is gonna leave for Korea to become a solo singer. So basically, this is the very premise of the show. Of course, it evolves. Basically, in episode 1, we have Thame be an asshole to Po because he recognizes him from when Po was working for Byfern, taking pictures for her fan page, and so he thinks that Po is a stalker. And we see this very, very mean side of Thame, where in the first episode, at least until the last scene, he is shown as an asshole. He is betraying his band. He is being very, very mean and cruel to Po, who is just trying his best. So at first, we don't really like Thame in episode 1. This is clearly very quickly dispelled at the end of episode 1 when they have a heart-to-heart, and Thame says that he actually doesn't want to go solo, but he's being forced by the label company. Now, the label company will be definitely the villain of the show, which I found very interesting. I feel like sometimes in other shows, they would make more the fans and toxic fans the villain of a show around either actors or singers. But this time, I think it was quite interesting that the label in itself is the bad guy, led by Kun Pemika, who is the CEO of the label. I think the show is structured very well. We're going to talk about it, but basically episode 1, we have just the introduction to everything. We see Thame as an asshole. Then we realize, oh, he's not an asshole. He's being forced by the label. Then the 5 next episode are about reconquering each member of Mars one by one. Okay, and that I really, really liked. This writing, this is when this show went from me watching it for the lulz to me thinking that this is a very tight run show, and I do love a tight run show. I feel like if Thai dramas have a flaw in general, of course not all of them do, but I think this is a flaw that is found in almost all Thai dramas, is that there is a lack of tightness in the execution. This is why I always talk about tightness in execution, because for me, this is when I can see like, okay, they pulled their shit together to make a show that worked. Even if it's a show that maybe I don't adore, that didn't change my life, that didn't maybe resonate with me, at the very least, I can always appreciate a tightly run ship. And I feel like ThamePo is that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So now the characters. Let's talk more about the characters. I will also introduce their plot points. So the characters, again, we have Po. So Po, in my opinion, is quite a good main character. You will see that a little bit of my criticism for this show is that both Thame and Po are a little bit boring. And bless their heart, okay? But they're a little bit boring. And Po, a little bit bland, but I don't mind him. I think he is a nice main character. This is someone that we can empathize with, that we can put ourselves in the place of. He is someone that is a little bit bland, I think, because he falls in the category of main character that is bland on purpose, like Bella Swan, for example, from Twilight, where they're a little bit bland, so we can kind of imagine ourselves in their position. But I do think that they could have made Poe a little bit more interesting. I think, when I think about a little bit like bland main characters, or at least main characters that are a bit basic, don't have much going on, I've been thinking a lot about Cooking Crush these days because I love Cooking Crush, but I think, for example, Prem is a little bit of a similar character to Poe, but he has a lot more personality to him that makes him a little bit more interesting in my opinion. However, for Poe, I feel in general atmosphere, as I described it for the show, where it's a little bit more atmospheric, it's a little bit more slow paced, it's a little bit more, there is this cold feeling. I don't know how to describe it. Please, if anyone understands what I'm trying to say, put it in the comments, I swear. But definitely there is this aspect of the show where it's a little bit more subtle, like it's a little bit more, the lights have been dimmed a little bit, if you will. And for me, that's why Poe in this sense does work. I do personally think though that he is quite a forgettable character. Like, he's not a character that I'm gonna remember for the next 5 years, you know what I mean? Like, I feel at this point we have so many Thai dramas coming out every year. I have watched over 400 Thai dramas. I need a character with a little bit more like peps for me to actually like remember them and to think like, oh, this character is amazing. Okay, but Poe is okay. He is, yes, a little bit more soft spoken. I think he's quite similar to who S is as a person in real life, like more introverted and more soft spoken, but he is definitely a ride or die. Okay, Poe is Thame's ride or die, and he helps him throughout the whole show. He is definitely like someone who is devoted to love, and someone who is also though easily manipulated and easily like, I think he kind of sees the best in people, or I think there is an aspect to him where he's a little bit weak-minded, but that's not so bad as a character trait. Then we have Thame. Thame is played again by William. Thame is also a little bit boring, and I think for Thame it's a little bit more of a problem. On my main channel, Axelle Loves Thailand, I do have a video, I think it's one of my most viewed videos, called The Perfect and Boring BL Love Interest, and it's a video that I made where it was more calling out the on paper perfect but a little bit boring, a little bit bland BL love interest that kind of ends up being more toxic, like the examples I said in that video were Napsip from Lovely Writer, who I really don't like as a character, or even Mork from Fish Upon the Sky, which I don't mind as a character but is a little bit more like manipulative for sure, even though on paper he's supposed to be perfect, have no flaws, blah blah blah. And I think there is an issue with these characters much more than just a bland and boring BL love interest, but even those annoy me a little bit. I think it's quite easy to give your characters a little bit of a flaw, a little bit of a personality, a little bit of something. And here, Thame literally is perfect out of everything. He's a great performer. He's adored by all. He's good looking. He's kind. He's generous. He loves his bandmates. No matter what, even when his bandmates are resentful towards him, he doesn't resent them. Like, he doesn't really have a bad point to him. The only bad side of him, especially in his relationship with Poe, is his status as a star, as a celebrity. But for me, it's not enough. Like, I wish, in my opinion, when you write a character, again, this is kind of the screenwriter in me talking, but like, you need to give your character at least one flaw to make them human. Now here, this is more of a plot-focused show rather than a character-focused show. You know, I'm a character-focused girly, and I didn't mind it because here the plot is interesting, is well written. Again, this is a tightly run show, which I love. Again, they're very rare, so I do applaud this show for that. But I wish they would have given Thame a little bit more spice, like a kick, like give me something. I just wish that he had a little bit more of an interesting personality, especially because him and Po together as a couple are very cute. The chemistry is adorable. We're gonna talk about it, but they're very bland. They're a very vanilla couple. And personally, when I see vanilla couple, it's not just like that they're not like, there's not a lot of like sex scenes or toxicity. Personally, I don't really love these kinds of BL shows and BL pairings in general. But it's more, when I say that, is that there's no like, you know, I feel like the chemistry needs to be ignited with something. And I feel like when the characters are a little bit too different, or they have flaws, or they get onto each other's nerves, it works better. You know what I mean? But I still do like this ship. We're gonna talk about it. And I do still like these characters. I just needed maybe a little bit more personality from them, in my opinion. And then we have my favorite character. I think if you guys know me at least a little bit, you already know it is June. It is June, it is June, it is June. Now, as I said, I was already a fan of Nat in particular before the show. But for me, this show showed me that I'm gonna need Nat in a BL ASAP, okay? ASAP, like tomorrow, okay? I think he shined so well in the show. And June is everything in a character that I'm have to love, okay? First of all, the chaotic bisexual energy. Yes, thank you already. I'm sold. I mean, chaotic bisexuals are already my favorite characters of all time there. Okay. But he also is playing games. He, for at least the first more than half of the show, I feel like June is the one kind of carrying the tension, especially the romantic tension between Thame and Po, okay? He's the one who we don't really know. At first we think he likes Thame, then we think he likes Po. Like, he is a little bit confusing. I love that. I love that, and he does it while being a little bit annoying, but annoying in my opinion, it was a very charming way. I actually loved all of his scenes. I was like, yes, put some drama into this. You know what I mean? He was the spice that, in my opinion, Thame and Po as character was lacking. And so he was there to confuse the viewers and confuse the characters inside of the show. And I love it. I love this. I love this. I love this for real. Okay. So June for me is such a fun character. I absolutely loved. Honestly, I have no note on June. The only thing is I feel like for the last 3 or 4 episodes of the show, he's very like he went from being very central to the show, because again, he's the one kind of pushing Thame to confess to Po, to being more of a background character like the other members of Mars in the show, which we're gonna talk about. And I kind of was sad, because for me, he was the point of interest. Honestly, at some point, I was watching ThamePo just for him. I just really loved him. I think he was the funnest character of this show, and he is by far my favorite. And honestly, I would watch a whole like sequel with just him. Like, for real, him and Dylan, because they've been kind of implied to be a pairing. I would watch this immediately, yes. Then we have Nano. So Nano, played by Lego. Nano is kind of, again, I feel like that it's kind of funny, because and I think it was on purpose, like the characters that they play inside of the group, like Mars into the show, are quite similar to the characters that they have adopted inside of Lycan, in the sense that we have Lego being the youngest, being kind of more the dancer. So in the show, Nano is, again, we have a whole episode focused on Thame trying to win Nano over. And Nano is kind of, for me, the least developed character. Like, he is kind of a little bit all over the place. I don't know if it's due to Lego's acting in this or the writing. I think it's maybe a little bit of both, in the sense that Nano is, at the same time, when we see him at first, he's very detached. Then we learn that it's all just a facade. Like, he's actually very hurt that it's all ending. He feels like everyone else has something going on, but he's completely lost with what he wants to do in life. He's, again, also kind of plays himself where he's the youngest member of the group. He's more of the dancer of the group. So I feel like they applied a lot of, the Lycan identity onto Mars as a group, like a fictional group inside the show. And I feel like Nano was a little bit underbaked. Like, there were some things where I felt like the acting was a little bit wrong, due to like the direction for his character being a little bit not so clear. But I do love Lego, so he was fun. again, I feel like sadly, apart from inside of the group Mars, the only two characters who were really developed were Tam, who's the main character, and June, but the three others were definitely much more left on the sidelines, especially Nano and Dylan. Speaking of Dylan, so Dylan is played by Hong. Dylan is the rapper of the group, just like Hong is the rapper of Lycan. And basically, he's the more like introverted one. He's kind of a grumpy guy who stays in his corner. And he's very hurt by the whole situation with Tame. Tame has to do a rap battle with him to kind of win him over. I actually quite like this moment. I really actually love rap, and I thought the rap battle was quite fun. Like, I really like this scene. It reminded me of that show with Nankon Chanon called Wannabe. If you like rap, I would recommend it. But anyways, little tangent over. And so Dylan is also very, very underdeveloped. Like, we barely see him. But I think it works a little bit more with him than Nano, because Dylan is like, his character trait is to be more in his own corner, writing lyrics and producing music. And even though it means that his character is quite underbaked and we don't see him in as many scenes, he doesn't have as many lines as the other characters, at least it fits his character. Like, this is a character they've created and it works all together. Whereas Nano, I feel like he was a little bit more confused. And then lastly, we have Pepper, played by Tui. Pepper is kind of the like unofficial leader of the group. So even though on paper Tame is the leader, Pepper is kind of the big brother figure, the paternal figure of the group. He's the one who kind of keeps the group together. He's also the one who gives Tame advice on Poe, on how to get with Poe, on how to confess his feelings, on how to figure out if he even likes Poe. And Pepper is in a secret relationship with Pigam, who is like a sponsor of some things to do with the company Warner, and Pigam is played by my queen Fa Youngwari. Okay, my absolutely, I love this woman. And so basically they're dating in secret, and later on, spoiler alert, there's a full breakdown because everyone finds out they're dating, they break up, then they get back together, blah blah. Now, the other characters are more side characters. I do have to talk about Kun Pemika, or Miss Pemika, who is again the CEO of Warner. Kun Pemika is a very interesting character, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit confused as well, but I think it is on purpose, where she is the villain of the show, like, undeniably, but at the same time, so basically her concept is that she wants Tame to go solo in Korea, and she wants to basically like dissolve the contracts of the other four, like literally she wants Mars to be dead as a band. And she always says, it's for your good, like, I'm thinking of you guys, blah blah blah. Like, she's basically always framing it as if she's doing it for all the members of Mars, because she's also framing it as if, oh, then the members of Mars can pursue their own like other dreams. Like, for example, June, he wants to be an actor, Pepper wants to be an MC, etc., etc. And so it is a little bit confusing to the characters inside the show and the viewers. And I think in a way it worked well, because you kind of hate her and you kind of don't. It depends on the moment. But she is definitely a villain. She is someone who is very inflexible. Yeah, she's very inflexible, and she doesn't really give Mars a chance at all. She's extremely biased towards them, and she also has made and she also has given Mars a very predatory contract where they have to reimburse the cost of their training and all the money that the company has invested into them. Personally, in my opinion, I've heard a lot of it through K-pop, so I feel like this show really takes influence from K-pop, but also I do know that the Thai T-pop industry takes a lot of influence from K-pop. I don't know how the T-pop industry and their contracts and the way they work with the artists work specifically, but I know that this is very predatory. Okay, if a company is investing into you as an artist, they should not want you to pay that back. Okay, they are gaining some money, they are gaining some views, some eyes on their company. money through your work as an artist. So this is already extremely predatory, and it tells me that Warner as a company is a predatory company. I mean, they stole one of the songs from Mars to give it to their other artist called Ice, played by Jung Arshan. So anyway, so Kunpei Yuka is very interesting to me. I think the actress did very well. I'm trying to think where I know her from. She's from my fucking favorite show, Analog Squad. I just fucking realized that right this minute. Okay, she's from Analog Squad, my favorite show from 2024. That show made me cry so much. Okay, if you like found family trope, go watch Analog Squad. It's on Netflix. Okay, so good. Tangent over. Then we also have the other characters. We have Pimik. Pimik is kind of also quite an unexpected character. So he's played by Leo Sose, who is like, so basically at first he's very lazy. You never see him working. He gives all the work to Po or the two other people we're gonna talk in a second, and in the end he ends up being on the side of Mars. I found that this was a little bit too random. I never really got like where this came from, but honestly I didn't really mind. Sometimes, you know, a show is so good and an ending is so good, because I actually really loved the last episode of ThamePo, is that I can forgive kind of some things being a little bit too forced for the sake of the plot. And then the other characters, we have Tae and Ming, I think. Yeah, Tae and Ming, played by my baby Drake Leadeke and Samantha Melanie Coate. And they are kind of they are in charge of everything else. They are definitely side characters. Anyways, let's move on. Now the cast and acting. So as I said, the cast, for me, I was really invested in this cast. I think it's very smart in general to put Lycan in a show where they can have a lot of soundtrack songs that they release, because of course, especially a BL show, it will put a lot of eyes on them. Okay, it will put a lot of eyes on them. And also, as we know, like, I feel like GMMTV has always been extremely biased towards William, especially. So in a way, GMMTV sometimes has acted a little bit like Warner inside of the show, where they have definitely put a lot of energy into William, because William definitely has the look for a male lead, more than the other members. The other members, for me, feel a lot more boy band coded rather than William, who is also boy band coded, but also has more of the look of a main lead, in my opinion. And in my opinion, the acting was very, very solid, especially for the first role of all the Lycan members. I think William did a really great job. Again, because the script and the way the show is, like, both Tame and Po are very soft-spoken, so they can be, like, their acting in, like, regular scenes is a little bit bland, but I really liked, for example, the scene where they're breaking up, even though I didn't love that scene, found like it was a little bit of a cliche, but the scene where they're breaking up, I thought the acting was extremely convincing, extremely good. The chemistry was there, like, you could, like, it really felt like they were breaking up while really being in love together, and I really liked this scene. So I believe the acting was really good. Again, I feel like maybe Lego needs to work a little bit on his acting. Hong as well, for Nat and Tui. Tui, honestly, I think Tui has a really good future in acting. I'm excited to see him in A Dog and a Plane, in a more like comedic show, definitely, because I really, really think he... Low-key, I think I prefer him as an actor than a singer, although he's a great singer, by the way. This is not a testament to his skills. And as for Nat, I think he's amazing. I would be surprised if GMMT doesn't give him, and probably him and Hong, a BL in next year's lineup, because I know they're quite popular at the moment, so I think they want to surf on that popularity. Definitely... I don't have anything bad to say. Even the side characters, in my opinion, played it well, so everything was great. And I just realized that I forgot to talk about Byfern in the characters. That's how fucking forgettable she is. Again, Byfern for me is just a plot device. Like, she appears, I think, in maybe only 4 episodes out of the 13. She's very, very, like, she doesn't really do much apart from serve the plot, so I don't have to say much about that. Now the writing. So the writing, you guys know that the writing is always what I criticize the most, okay, in these episodes. The writing was good. The writing is not perfect, of course. I don't think there's ever like perfect writing. In my opinion, the only perfect piece of writing ever done was I Told Sunset About You. And even that, this is because I do like shows with a lot of angst, a lot of dramas. A lot of people didn't like I Told Sunset About You because there's a lot of crying, and it seems a little bit immature, but for me it worked a lot because these are high school kids, and I think it's a perfect piece of writing, in my opinion. However, ThamePo was really, really solid, and I could feel it from the first episode. I do... Again, because Thame is kind of a boring character, I would have liked if his mean image that he had in episode 1 had continued a little bit more, because in episode 1 he's such an asshole that personally I was like really shocked at first. I was like, oh, how dare you feel frustrated, you're like, how dare you talk to Poe like this, like he's just trying his best, okay, he just wants a job, blah blah. And I kind of liked it because again it made the relationship and it made the character of Thame in general a little bit more interesting. So I'm kind of sad that we did lose that, but apart from that, I really liked the I do like the episodic concept, okay. I love when one episode equals one thing, and here the fact that one episode equaled one member of Mars being won back over into wanting to participate into Mars, for me worked very well. And then we have after that this kind of second half of the show where they are trying their best to create a new song to kind of prove to the agency that they are good together and that they have an audience that roots for them, and then their song gets hijacked and given to Ice, again played by Jung, and then they have to do a second song. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of that process for the second song, because we don't see anything, we just saw the song, we just see the song out of nowhere, and I wish there was like a little bit more like hype, because we saw a lot into what entailed for the first song that was scrapped, but I wish we would have gotten that for the song that actually wasn't scrapped inside the show. You know what I mean? So in general, I feel like the writing was really tight. I don't really have much to say against it, apart from maybe the end again, Mick being secretly in favor of Mars out of nowhere, for me was a little bit random and a little bit like forced for the sake of the plot. So that would be my issue. Kun Pemika was confusing, but honestly I think that was the point. I wish they would have maybe developed Tae and Ming a little bit more, because we learned that they are dating in secret. It would have been cute if we saw a cute scene of them together, especially in the last episode, as like a nice send-off for the characters. Byfern definitely should have been a little bit more, like she should have had a little bit more involvement into this, and so those Gam. I wish that if we saw Gam a little bit more, because we see her in only one episode prior to learning she is Pepper's secret girlfriend. And so for me, I wish we would have seen her a little bit more, because at first when I saw her, I was like, wait, why does she look familiar? I had forgotten that we had seen her previously in an episode as the sponsor. And so for me, the reveal that she was Pepper's secret girlfriend didn't work as much, because we didn't see her enough for her to be an established character in that universe, if it makes sense. And again, this sounds like I'm nitpicking, because I am. I think overall the writing is very solid. You can see all the hurdles they have to face. You can see all the characters. You can see the bond of Mars as a band. You can see how much Poe wants to help this band, and how much he wants to help Thame, and how much he cares for Thame even long before they start realizing that they really like each other and care for each other. So for me, the writing is really, really good. I know I don't say this often. I know I'm always complaining about the writing, but honestly, this was good. It's not perfect. Of course, there's always improvements. Again, apart from I Told Sunset About You, I truly don't believe there are other perfect shows out there. So yes, but overall the writing was really, really solid. I literally cannot think of much to do better. I just wish maybe the other characters of Mars would be a little bit more developed. I think maybe we could have cut a few ThamePo scenes to give a little bit more screen time to the other characters, not necessarily to give them like love stories, but to develop them as characters, have them more of their personality go out. And I think the writing in general, even though it was so good, one of the flaws of the writing, because as I said, it's quite atmospheric of a series, it's quite like, it has this particular ambience, okay, that is a little bit slow, a little bit cold, a little bit K-drama. It really does look for me like a K-drama, where we feel quite detached from the character, and I wish maybe they would have been a little bit more developed, especially the other members of Mars, so we can be a little bit more attached and feel a little bit closer to the topic at hand. And again, I'm nitpicking a little bit because I did really enjoy this show. Next, we have the cinematography. So as we know, GMMTV shows usually have quite basic camera work. This is kind of the case here, although I feel like this show really does have a K-drama vibe. I think the camera quality or like the color grading, there's something about it that is a little bit more different than other GMMTV shows in a way that does make this show stand out. I really like the orange tones, kind of the orange coloring of this whole show, and I really think the cinematography is a little bit above other GMMTV shows. Yeah, honestly, I kind of liked it. Again, I think camera work. Like GMMTV is good at doing some cute like color grading, or like the quality looks great. Give me crazy shots, give me crazy camera work, please. Give me another Not Me, like give me something new. Then we have the pace. Now this show has a good pace. It's maybe a little bit slow, okay? Again, it is a more plot focused than character focused show, meaning that, again, it didn't really give that much attention to the characters, more than what is kind of barely acceptable, but it gave a lot more to the plot. The plot, again, with the company, back and forth, blah, 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 okay. But I just wish that it had been a little bit shorter. I think especially, so we have, for me, the first like 5 episodes are so good. Are honestly almost perfect episodes. First episode, basically we have Po uncover Thame's true personality. He's not an asshole. He's been trying to like keep Mars together, blah blah. Second episode, we start by winning June over. Third episode, we win, I don't remember, I think it was Dylan. Fourth episode, it was Nano. Fifth episode, it was Pepper. And then there's no more band members to continue this episodic formula too, so they kind of have to switch it up. And then from episode 6 to 13, I think they could have removed at least one episode. I don't think this necessitated to be 13 episodes. I think that I could have cut down some ThamePo scenes, some things, and in the sense could have moved some things around, because for example, when Thame and Po get together, we only see into montage that they are like officially together. They're staying over, like Thame is staying over at Po's place. They're having like, we see a montage of cute scenes together, and literally they break up like 10 minutes later into that same episode. And so you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit, we don't have time to see their dynamic as a couple enough, in my opinion. So for me, the pace after these first 5 episodes got a little bit messed up, and I think they could have cut some scenes, tightened some things here and there. But overall, I think, as again I said, it was a very tight run ship. I think this show is very well executed, but the pace is a little bit too slow, especially since the 2 main characters, the love story that we follow, is a little bit boring, a little bit more on the like vanilla flat side, in my opinion. Then we have the ships and chemistry. So again, I think Est and William have a really good chemistry. It's not, for me, like it didn't knock me out the park. Like I was like on my jaw wasn't on the floor, but this was really good chemistry. To be honest though, I do expect good chemistry in every GMMTV show. It's very rare that I found like bad chemistry. So I really enjoyed ThamePo. I think they're very cute sheep. You can see why they end up together. They make sense as a couple. They look good together. They, in terms of personality and the way they act, because they're both like very soft-spoken, kind of, yeah, not that much personality. In a way, they do fit together very well. But again, I wish they would have had a little bit more bite, like just a little bit more bite. Then the music. So the music, you know, usually I don't really notice it in the show. Here, of course, because you have Lycan in the show, and this is a show about a boy band, there's a lot of songs. And I do have to say I like all of them. The last song of the show, I believe it's like Fly High or something. I loved it. But I really love the scenes in the show, like the end where they sing this song like Fly High. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a really good climax to the show. It worked really well for me. Like usually, to be honest, I'm not that into like scenes that are on stage where you see like people singing, but here I don't know, I kind of ate it up. I was like so into it. So I really liked the soundtrack for the show. I like all the songs. I've added them all to my playlist. Yeah, honestly, I really liked everything about the soundtrack here, and I think this is what sometimes, honestly, I do feel like GMMTV's bread and butter, and the shows that they do the most justice to are the ones where they can have some cool and fun soundtrack with so many songs, like here, like My School President, like Together. All those three shows were successful and did have a lot of attention put on the music of the show, because the showrunners actually put a lot of attention and intent into the music, and I love when it's the case. Of course, not all shows can do that, because not all shows are focused around music, but I do love these kind of shows. I feel like they always make the best out of the music in the show that they're given, and they're usually also given more soundtracks and more like scenes with music, because they are promoting music more into the show. As for the costume design, so obviously the costume design in this show is a little bit more interesting than usual, because this is a boy band. I personally really loved the denim suits that they wore for their single Who Says. I thought these outfits were so cool, and honestly could have been like real Lycan outfits. I also kind of liked Tame's like fashion sense, even though it makes no sense in Thailand, but he always has like a hoodie layered with a jacket on top, which is very Korean. Like again, the Korean vibes are here. Again, Tame is supposed to go in Korea. Like we can see the Korean influence on Thai culture and Thai like vision of T-pop as kind of following in K-pop's footsteps. Though personally, I wish that T-pop would kind of find its own identity. I think some groups have managed to do that a little bit more than others. But yeah, here Tame, I'm like, every time I saw him in scenes, especially outside, I would be like, girl, how are you not fainting right now? Thailand is very hot, okay? Having, like, sometimes he had 3 layers on. I'm like, girl, let's be for real. Like, I know Thai people tend to be able to wear like thicker clothes easier than me, my fucking foreign ass, who sweats my ass off even in a fucking tank top here. But still, I'm like, girl. Every time I saw Tame, I was kind of like, girl. But apart from that, I did like his outfits. It did like was giving kind of effortless idol, effortless like K-pop member, which I really liked. So honestly, I think the wardrobe was quite good. I think they kind of gave the characters, especially inside of Mars, their own kind of style. And Tame also has a more like regular style to kind of contrast with Tame's kind of cool aura as an idol. Then we have the rewatchability. The rewatchability for me is actually quite high. I think it's a fun show. I think it's a good show. And honestly, I really had a lot of fun in front of it. Again, I don't really know why I had to cut it in 2 and why it took me so long to then finish it, because I really had so much fun. I really like the universe that this show created. I like the band Mars as a concept, their personalities. I just liked everything about the show, and honestly, I would rewatch it. I think the rewatchability is quite high, because even though you get kind of spoiled the the inner workings of Kun Pemika, about like what she's doing about Mars and the betrayals. This isn't a show with that many plot twists. I think if you watch this show, what hits the most with this show, it's its message to leave artists alone and allow them to have a love life, and also the bond between the characters and how much they are working to keep their band together inside of the show, as well as, of course, the love story, which is very sweet. Now the ratings. So I gave it, honestly, right now I'm having a little bit of a crisis. So this show on my drama list is rated an 8.5, and I gave it an 8. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to give it an 8.5, because it's rare like that a show is that tightly run. And I think the message of the show is quite interesting. On a side tangent, but it will relate to this show. Literally, so on TikTok, I follow kind of all the Afghan and Afjumpun like fan accounts. And the algorithm kind of messed up on this one, because it gave me a video run by an anti-Afjumpun fan. And it was about like the theory that he's been back with his girlfriend and dating his ex-girlfriend, who would be his still girlfriend, behind the fans' back this whole time. There's been this theory since basically he broke up with his girlfriend in 2019. And there's supposedly a video, like it's a very blurry video from very like super far, of them in Disneyland Paris. And this video had like 80,000 likes. And when I saw that, I was so fucking pissed. Obviously, like, he's my favorite actor. I'm like, bitch, who the fuck cares? But I was glad that at the very least, when I opened the comments, all the top comments were like, who cares, blah, blah, blah. And I think the very top comment was like, haven't we learned anything from ThamePo? And another comment was like, this is ThamePo all over again. And at first I was like, what? Like, I thought they were talking about the real life actors. But then I realized, oh, this show ThamePo, as a fictional, like, piece of fiction, okay, has influenced the way that some people look at their favorite idols and their relationships. And it's really funny because later on I saw another post. I think this Disneyland thing has resurfaced recently, because I think it's been there's been drama going on. I'm in my own bubble, girl, of positivity, but I saw another girl who's like, she's a baby, she's an Afghan fan, and she was like, it's so funny how new like Afghan fans are shocked about of maybe being back with his ex-girlfriend, whereas like us babies like literally don't care. She's been his day one. If they're really together, like that's amazing, blah blah. Off is gonna turn 35 next year, by the way. We are talking about a 35-year-old man and his relationship. It's insanity. This oh girl, this is something I will never get anyways. But I found it so interesting that ThamePo was mentioned on a video that did not involve anyone from the cast of that show, completely like on a different topic. But at the same time, I realized it's not a different topic. I think ThamePo, even though for me what it's saying that we should respect artists and their love life, which for me is very basic and something that I've always respected, but I think some people do need to see it in a case with actors that they like, with a pairing that they like, when they see ThamePo breaking up over their fans' speculations, when they see Pepper and Pigam breaking up because of the fan speculation. This feels real. This fictional show shows them what actors actually go through. And it's always been so funny to me how these actors are incredibly infantilized and obsessed over when they're just regular people who happen to be, yes, extremely rich, extremely famous, but they're just regular ass people. If you guys think everyone at GMMTV is not either dating or at least fucking, you are on crazy land, okay? You need to rethink your life and your priorities. And I do like that ThamePo has, for me again, it's a talk and it's a thought process that I've had like forever. So for me, I didn't really see it as starting a really like important point that people hadn't already agreed upon, but apparently it did. And I do like that ThamePo has caused people to comment on a random video of Jungpoo with maybe his ex-girlfriend in a blurry video from Disneyland Paris, okay, which was months ago, by the way, to cause to be like, bitch, we don't care, leave them alone, like we should leave Tame and Po alone inside of the fictional show, like we should leave Pepper and Pigam alone in the fictional show. I do like that. And so, you know what? I think I'm gonna switch the fucking grade, bitch. I'm giving it an 8.5. Now, how I would fix it, as I said, like I've already talked a little bit about it. I think, again, it would have been nice to develop, especially for me, the number one thing you should fix is develop, especially Nano and Dylan a little bit more. I feel like they were kind of put on the side. And Pepper as well, I feel like outside of his relationship with Pigam, I wish we would have seen a little bit more of him like as a character outside of his relationship. But apart from that, and I would also make Tame a little bit more interesting of a character, a little bit more like, give him something. One flaw. You could choose any flaw, just one. So that's what kind of I would do to fix the show. But again, as I think it's been clear this whole episode, I did really like the show. This one thing though is that I actually really liked, and I need to say this in this episode, girl, because I don't know why I didn't mention it when we were talking about June, but I feel like I kind of shipped June and Po a little bit. Like I feel like their banter was so much more interesting than Tame and Po, in my opinion. Although I do think Tame and Po on the long run are a much better pairing. But yes, June, again, give me a show with Nat in a fucking BL. I just love him. I think he has the it factor for me to make any show interesting. For me, if there's only one character that I'm keeping from ThamePo, it is absolutely June. I absolutely loved him. He's honestly one of my favorite characters of the year. Maybe of the decade. Like, I love him. And very lastly, who would like this show? I honestly think most people would like this show. I think especially if you're more of a plot-focused person, you might adore this show more than I did. I think this show is fun. This show has an interesting plot. It does have things to say. It does have a little bit more of a twist, as I said, on the like idol kind of TV shows, because here the villain is the company, and I think it is done in a really in a little bit of a subversive way, because the company, like, we never know. In French, we say we never know on which feet to dance on, because they, like, Kun Pemika is a very confusing CEO. Like, she's trying to pretend like she's doing it for Tame and for Mars, but also she's not. She's very much against them. And so I think it worked very well in that aspect. Honestly, I really think that anyone would like this show, and I think that is the strength of this show. I think it's a widely likable show, and yeah, it's just, honestly, I went into it with no expectation, and I really liked it. And as I said in my Pluto episode, I do love shows like these where you just don't expect much. You come with your fucking hands in your pockets. You don't really mind. You don't really care. And the show manages to surprise you in the best way. I really loved it. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.